Welcome. This is Astrology Insight Now. It's a weekly forecast program with astrology and a guided meditation activation to help you make the most of your week and to heighten confidence for daily life. It's run by Pamela Cuccinell, that's me, the astrologer, and Suzy Mazzoli, master healer. We invite you to find out more about our individual work, Suzy Mazzoli, suzymazzoli.com, or insightoasis.com for astrology. We look forward to your joining us every week. Please share with your friends. Here we go.
Welcome, everybody. This is May 27th, Monday. Pam's going to let us know everything that's happening this week. And this is week 22 of this year, 2024. I'll be back at the end for our meditation. And what's in store, Pam?
On the 27th, which is the United States Memorial Day, it's an interesting day astrologically because with that moon in Capricorn that I spoke about at the end of last week, it's well aspected to promote a sense of how we pull things together, what it is that responding to what we emotionally and feel in a responsive way is the best way to unfold into truth, fulfillment, connectivity. So, I'd love to say this is a day where there will be more calm and conversation in a country like the United States. Whether that happens or not, of course, has everything to do on individuals and decisions they make and how, once again, responsive people are to listening to the situation at hand and really moving in a way that is conversational and looking for cohesiveness. In other words, this can be a day where we work on relationships, where we work on love. And I'm not just talking about romantic love. As an astrologer, one of the questions, of course, that I get asked periodically is, how does my love life work? Or how does it look? Or there's no one in my life? Or the house of my relationships is empty. What does that mean? And the piece about relationships, as I have said many, many times, is relationships, whether they're romantic or a very good friend, child to parent, co-workers, employee to boss, boss to employee. Relationships work best when we realize that there's work involved in relationship. They don't just magically happen. Yes, there are some people who seem to have this very tranquil, sort of in sync way of relating to one another. And the proof always comes up when we actually are dealing with some sort of life challenge or situation that brings to a head, how are we getting along? How are we working in this relationship? And when the moon is in the sign of Capricorn, we are invited, among other things, to do the work of relationship. And today, especially on the 27th, seems to bring that up. Now, when I talk about it, as I said, I'm not just talking about romantic partner. It could be neighbors. It could be, well, there are so many situations now where people just really have strong senses of separation. If you're not in my tribe, if you don't agree with everything I think, then I can't even talk to you. Well, today may be a day where there's some movement where, for one reason or another, we're having those kinds of conversations. In other words, the invitation is there, the potential is there. Whether we act on them or not has to do with individual situations and where you find yourself. But that is a big charge that is occurring on this day. The moon goes void, of course, at 4:02 p.m., and then it enters the sign of Aquarius at 4:45 p.m. When the moon is void, of course, we don't usually start something new. We finish things up. We put things in order. We take a time out. We relax. We recharge. And this is very constructive with the moon in the sign of Capricorn. So, for that brief period of time, it can be a nice period to just sit back, evaluate, and then get ready for the next couple of days. When the moon is in the sign of Aquarius, it's an air sign. It really has to do with getting inspired, uh, having conversations, expressing ideas, getting involved with things that might have to do with community or computers, depending on your orientation or both. And there's a nice picture in the sky between Moon and Jupiter in the early evening. And this looks to me like it can be a very lovely evening for parties, for conversation, for sharing ideas, for establishing, hey, what I want to do next. Some of us, after perhaps a vacation weekend or the kickoff to the vacation, because some people pretty much have a totally different orientation towards life once summer begins. So this evening can be a good kind of mapping out, looking at what's ahead, what you might plan. Now, there's a couple of things important to keep in mind about this. One of the things is that with this particular moon placement, it's highly likely that something is going to happen or occur that's unexpected. So we can map out plans or figure out we are drafting out how the summer is going to look, or our work schedule, or the days we're going to take off, or travel we might take. But just know that there is a potential of something looking different than you think today. And this isn't necessarily bad or good. It's just it it is not going to go perfectly according to plan the way anyone conceives it, most likely on this particular day or over the next couple. The other thing is that we are in the waning moon cycle. So it's a good time to wrap things up, get things in place for the next lunar cycle. Doesn't mean you can't begin something now. I mean, some people may be beginning a trip for the summer, relocation, plans that they are about to execute. That's all fine. You just want to be aware, waning moon cycle. So momentum isn't necessarily just kind of pushing everything forward. And this other piece that looks like something that you don't anticipate may shift how this looks. An example is for me, I've been planning out a trip and I was thinking, oh, I'll take a train here and I'll do this. And then I get in there and realize, oh, okay, so over this season, they are planning to close off some tracks, and the train would actually take a lot longer, or some of them rerouted with buses. So that again is a exact example, but it can also be something that just occurs with people or situations that just don't go the way you thought it was going to work because of how it had in the past. But overall, as I said, Monday evening looks like a highly idea, revelation. Ooh, what about this? Very exciting kind of conversations or ideas that can fly into one's head. On the 28th, Tuesday, Moon is also in the sign of Aquarius, so it'll go void, of course, at 10:20 a.m. on Wednesday, the 29th. For Tuesday into the early part of Wednesday, you've got this energy that's about open to ideas, things coming in, conversations, networking, with the keeping in mind that something can detour or change what you thought how it was going to roll out. Once the moon goes void, of course, at 10:20 a.m. on Wednesday, it is void for the rest of the day until in the evening at 8:33 p.m. it enters Pisces. So that void, of course, moon on in the sign of Aquarius on Wednesday, really the best things to do, unless you know your personal horoscope and that moon is doing something lovely as it moves into your personal horoscope. But what is going on is best for, oh gosh, you can do things like clear out old emails, organize your computer, back things up, do things that have to do with getting the machine moving a lot more smoothly. It's perfect for that. And if not computer oriented, it can be good for anything that has to do with that kind of just settling things up, finishing tasks, working on things already in motion. If you're in a situation where a lot of ideas are bandied about, you're thinking that, wow, you're in this great community meeting or networking session or brainstorming thing at work, just know that a lot of things that get thrown around are not necessarily going to go anywhere. You can jot them down, you can revisit them at a better point in time, and perhaps bring them up with someone else. But in the conversations that you're having on this particular day, there just may not be enough emotional connectivity or commitment to whatever is discussed to have it actually come to fruition. Once the moon enters Pisces at 8:33 p.m. on Wednesday, now we're in a very nice period as we go towards the end of the, well, work week is variable with people now. But as we go towards Friday, what's going on with this is it's a lovely evening for good sleep, restorative focus, really nice for that, drifting, dreaming. And on Thursday, we are experiencing a, well, it's a combination of things. It's very nice, once again, for inviting in possibilities, imagining where we might go with something, allowing the dreams and ideas to happen. It reminds me of in my one of my former lives working in an art studio where we come up with different concepts for the client and never exactly sure what the client would nail on and say, yes, this is what I want. And so, with that in mind, sometimes we'd come up with some things that were pretty just not anything we would present to the client, but it was this period of moving things around in a kind of playful, experimental way that could then get us to a sense of, okay, I think I'm on to something that has the ability to connect in the way that we need it to connect. Because any of the arts, whether they're verbal, music, visual, whatever the dramatic, they they don't mean anything unless they speak to someone who's receiving it. And I'm talking about a work situation that you had to be very specific. Obviously, artists who have the freedom to create something that may have a connection with a smaller pool or something more experimental. Um, that's very exciting. And so those are all things that are available to us over these couple of days. In the end, it's who is it you want to connect to, and is this having that dialogue? But sometimes it's just nice to experiment and be. One of the things that I've been really enjoying doing at this point in time, and also it's weather, it's just a lot of other things, but the ability to be in nature and just turn off the noise in the head. It's a walking meditation, certainly. But that experience of just looking at how light moves on leaves and sun and colors and listening to the wind and birds, all these things open up realms of communication and connecting that we can't easily articulate, because we have to step into that place of not being analytical. And in Donna Cunningham, a wonderful astrologer and teacher, called it our solar world. So our solar world, where everything's kind of lit up and it's like what you see and what you're responding to, and who's the celebrity today, what's the famous news today. All that noise doesn't bring us to that sense of knowing. It doesn't. So if you can give yourself some space on the 30th, 31st, to be in that place of simply receiving, the messages can be grounding, comforting, and enlightening. Highly creative days. Don't worry about the output. Again, back to my story about the clients and the coming up with concepts. I mean, again, it's, you can't, well, I guess somebody can, but the best stuff that we came up with usually were things that we didn't exactly know what they were going to be until we started knocking ideas around and just playing with visuals and concepts. So get in nature, stare at some water, allow yourself to float. And even if you're at a desk and doing something that like deadline oriented, if you can have a picture on your wall of someplace with a body of water or something that just allows you a memory or a recharge moment, that can really feed your your soul and your ability to manifest whatever it is you're wanting to make happen. So on the 31st, there's a particularly lovely time from early afternoon until the moon goes void at 10:55 p.m., which just really expands. that creativity, the sense of innovation, and just also remember waning moon cycle. So unload, unload, unload anything that's kind of in your way or that you've been carrying around or feels too heavy emotionally to be lugging around anymore. Uh, Oftentimes we clutter our head and our hearts with memories or things from the past or grievances that just get in our way. And yes, once again, there's a lot of noise out there that can make a lot of people feel upset or aggrieved or lost or unable to move. And if there's a way you can just allow yourself, I I can't do anything about that other than allow myself to invite in the possibility that maybe I can. Maybe something can come in and give me an opening or an idea of how I might be able to do it, but I cannot solve this problem with my mind. And so when we release, release, release these burdens we've been carrying, we allow space for answers and for what we can do. So the moon enters Aries at 11:28 p.m. Friday evening, the 31st, and it's basically there until the weekend. Yeah, until the end of the weekend. What goes on is it goes void, of course, at 6:04 p.m. on Sunday, and it's void for the rest of the evening into the next day. So, how you want to approach this weekend is do what you can because it's the moon in Aries. It's very fiery. Mars is in Aries. We want to be in motion, but some of us cannot move as quickly or agilely as others. So, how do you move in ways that allow your body that sense of I am in motion, I feel fluid, I feel on, I feel here? Maybe it's just taking small steps in nature and, as I said, observing. That might be it for you. For other people, they're, you know, sailboarding or hiking up a mountain or doing something much more rigorous. And for other people, it may be I want to be in motion doing something productive to help and heal and take action. And that's all great. So, this is a weekend of movement, and you know which movement suits you best. But the most important thing is when we feel that call to action, is to not allow ourselves to be disempowered by what someone else says our limits are. Know yourself, know what your limits are, and then move. And now I turn it over to Suzy.
Thank you. Thank you. Limitless. Let us be limitless, boundless. Pure joy. Okay, let's jump into our meditation. As always, try and find a nice seated position where you're sitting up straight so that the spine is comfortable and straight. The spine, the bones in our spine house our nervous system. Our nervous system is very much how we experience the world. And when we're doing meditation, we want that to be nice and straight. And if we can, to have our body set up as symmetrically as possible, whether we're sitting in a lotus, sitting on a chair. But it's always best to have our head pointing towards the heavens and to have our coccyx, the base of our spine, heading down towards the center of earth. And just finding that seat, relaxing, finding a place of comfort. and settling in to allow the mind to just focus on the words being spoken, allowing the body to find some stillness, and settling in gently, settling in quietly, allowing the breath to become almost imperceptible. And with that gentle movement, we might already just feel some peace, some quiet, and allowing ourselves to remember that we can be like this. We can be like this in the background of our day all the time, in this place of peace and quiet. It's like you're meditating on the back burner all the time. We're allowing ourselves to be very calm and neutral, and noticing now in the world around us, there are so many things happening in our personal lives, so many things happening at work, in our families, and then in the world at large. So much change, so much movement. Sometimes we may even struggle to find some joy with everything going on. So let us find that place in this peace. Let us find this place now in our mind where we can be neutral, where we can be in acceptance of change, where we can really see that life is this constant flow of events, and recognize within ourselves all of our own change, how much we have changed, how much we might want or need to change, and how much we have our fingernails clawing at the stable earth, wanting things to be unchanged or wanting things to be still. Notice within yourself how much you can be in the flow. How much can you be able to just move with the flow? Visualize yourself as made entirely of water. And most of our body is water. Most of our body is actually water. So it doesn't take a little bit more energy just to see yourself entirely as water. Visualize yourself as a body of water, perhaps in the ocean or in a river. Visualize yourself unbounded and free, moving gently, constantly in motion. but there is peace in your mind, and the emotions are quiet and settled. We're not jumping with joy, we're not ecstatic, we're not sad or depressed. We are simply content with what is. A very peaceful, neutral emotional state. And as we hold this state of mind, neutral, peaceful, our body is like, yes, please, more of that. Our body yearns for that peaceful, neutral state of mind, state of emotions. Our body works better when we are in that state. Our body is able to function better when we are in a peaceful, emotionally and mentally a peaceful state. Again, just visualizing ourselves as water on a calm and peaceful day, allowing for movement, allowing for change, peace of mind, feeling our body, feeling the air moving around us, all of our senses aware, just listening, just feeling, but not responding, just being. And gently we open our eyes and take a few deeper breaths, knowing that this state of mind is natural and beneficial for us, and beneficial for everything, everybody around us. And as we take another deeper breath, holding this peace and wishing this peace on all beings, everywhere, always. Thank you so much, Pam, for our forecast, and thank you, everybody, for joining us. We wish you the very best and love now.
You have been listening to Suzy Mazzoli and Pamela Cuccinell of Insight Now. If you've enjoyed this program, consider a donation. A link for that at astrologyinsightnow.com. We invite you to join us again for next week's podcast. Please share with others who can benefit from insight, and have a stellar week.